Yesterday I sprayed 2 cross coats of the UV block, and this is also filler. Let it sit overnight so it can dry, because I have a few spots that need to be sanded. So I use Scotch Brite. This that's 3M, but yeah, this maroon color Scotch Brites. I also have 320 grit paper, because there are some spots when you look at the wing closely, especially it's on the other side, where the tapes are laying down, but there is a little bit, the edges are fuzzy, I call it. If you look here, like this area here, and a little bit here, so that needs to be sanded, and I give the whole wing a quick sanding, because there's some little imperfections here, so that all can come off with by sanding. Same, actually the top of the wing looks better, much smoother. It's almost good as it is, but I still want to go over with a little bit sanding, because the edges they're laying down, but they're just a little rough. So by going over with Scotch Brite, they should smooth out fine, and then I do another cross coat of the primer filler UV block, and then I guess tomorrow I start shooting the top coat, Daytona white top coat. So it's getting pretty warm here in Virginia, and so I get up like 6 in the morning and do the painting very early before the heat of the day, but it's still even at by the time I start painting it's like almost 8 or so. It's between 7:30 and 8. It is already pretty hot, but anyhow, so I painted 2 cross coats 2 days ago, but they turned out to be too dry. When I sanded, I could still see some from the green underneath shining through. So, and I don't have any experience really with painting the eco-fill of the Stewart system. So I did a lot of sanding, a lot of more prep work, and this morning I painted another 2 cross coats. It looks much better now, so it looks really even. So I think this is okay, but there are still small little parts where just things just pop up. I mean, that's the frustrating part with pinked edges and fabric airplanes. But anyhow, so I leave it sitting here until probably early afternoon. Then I do some sanding on it to prepare for the top coat. Like here's oh, actually this just a dead fly. So, but overall it actually looks, I think, okay. I don't particularly like painting, by the way. It's something I do, and it's gratifying when it's all done, but it's frustrating while you do it. So so this is the top of the wing. The top of the wing looks actually better than the bottom. So this is now, it has technically 4 cross coats of paint on it, of this UV block on it, but the first 2 I would maybe just count as 1. Like I said, I put it on too thin. And when you do it too thin, it's really just this very dry feeling. This even feels better under your hand. And like I said, there's some areas that I have to attend to, maybe a little bit with an iron, or just slightly sanding with a Scotch Brite pad. Like here's another spot And here's something that doesn't look quite alright. So I will give that a try and hopefully it works out, and then tomorrow morning I can shoot the toner white. And again, I'm not videotaping while I'm painting, not to get overspray on the camera, and it's just too busy prepping the paint, getting it in the gun, shooting, turning the wing and everything, so I cannot attend really to the camera. So anyhow, so far so good. So today I want to paint the first top coat, the white. But one challenge you have, or at least here where I live in northern Virginia, in the northern tip of Virginia, you come into the tent in the morning, into a spray booth, and the wing is wet because of the morning dew. So first now I have to wipe off the wing and then actually let it dry, which usually takes about half an hour, 45 minutes, but I have to mix the paint anyway. So, and then I can start painting the top coat. And I'm done spraying the white top coat. It's the toner white, and so it's actually 4 coats or 2 cross coats that you spray, and the first is more like a 4 coat, so you still see the gray UV block from a little bit underneath on the second coat. And every time you do a coat, so first one I do horizontal, and then by the time I finish with the second coat, which is a vertical coat, every time you open the spray gun a little bit and put a little bit more paint on, by the time you do the second one, the wing is pretty much covered. You don't see any of the gray UV block anymore. Then you open the gun again a little bit more. You do another horizontal coat, and by then you actually get a little bit of a shine already. Then you stop and you wait until the paint is actually tacky. So when you touch it with the back of a finger, it feels very tacky, and you maybe just get a slight paint transfer, just a slight little bit paint on your finger, but not much. So then you know you're ready for the next and the final coat. And there I open up the needle on the spray gun, actually quite a bit more. But it all depends what kind of equipment you have, and what nozzle you use and stuff like that. So my setting maybe don't mean much to anyone else. But when you do the last coat, which is the last coat for me is then a vertical spray pattern, then you really get a nice gloss into it. So this is the underside of the wing. Of course I have a few bugs in it. One landed right here. I don't know how much the camera can pick it up, but those you just leave alone, and after the paint is dry, I just use like 1500 grit or 2000 grit sandpaper, just take care of it. And then when the well, you really I let it dry for like a week. So in a week I go back and just use a bit sandpaper and just a little bit polishing, and you won't even see them anymore. But overall I'm happy how it turned out. So now it will dry until tomorrow, and then I have a lot of masking to do to mask the whole wing and get it ready then for the red leading edge. So all around the leading edge, all the way around the wingtip, will be a red color, and then that has to dry, and then I have to do some more masking and put to the left, or the top and bottom of the red, I have to put a blue stripe. So, but again, overall looks good. And I only got one run where I was a little bit aggressive around the filler neck of the auxiliary tank, but even that by now you can't even see anymore. So well, if you look really close, then you can see it. Maybe it's right there, but most people won't even notice. Plus it's on the top of the wing, so only when you put fuel in the tank you will see that. So, and again, it can be sanded and polished out. So overall I'm happy, and I may take off for the rest of the day and do some yard work. Yesterday I finished shooting the top coat on. So the wing was sitting since about early afternoon, or actually before lunch yesterday, and totally cured. So the paint is nice and dry and cured. So now I'm preparing for the shooting the red color for the leading edge. So the way I do is I went ahead and mounted the leading edge fairing that sits between the wing and the windshield, and I pinched a masonry string right at the edge where I have to start taping, and then run the string all the way down the wing. And in this case, here's the landing light opening. So I also yesterday painted these metal pieces here, because these are the only metal pieces that I have to paint that received multiple colors. Everything else is just going to be white, so I do that later. But these ones I painted already, and I marked off where actually the red used to be, but it's not lining up anymore, because what I'm going for is the edge of, I don't know if it's visible in the camera, the edge of the pinked edge of my leading edge tape, which is a 4-inch tape that wraps around the leading edge. At the wing root, it was exactly, I believe, 2.5 inches here. Yeah, 2.5 inches from where the red starts to the pinked edge. But when I first lined it up with the marks that I did on these parts, before I sanded them off, I marked on the back where the red actually stopped, and the red stopped here already. So I think the way it was painted prior for me to recovering, the red leading edge got smaller here at the end. So, but I want just everything straight, lining up with my my pinked edges that I have on the leading edge from the tape. So I readjusted it, so now I have the same 2.5 inches here. And like I said, I pinched the masonry string, went all the way across, and when I measure also here at the very end 2.5 inches, I'm getting a very straight line actually down the whole wing. So I did on both sides. So I already laid down the tape here on the masking tape, and I use this fine line 3M, like a plastic tape. Don't use just this blue paper tape that you can buy at the big box stores. For what really lays up against the paint, always use this fine line tape. It's expensive. I think a roll is like almost $15 or something, but it pays dividends afterwards. So I'm just gonna keep on masking and show a little bit more later after the wing is masked off. And here we go. So I got all the fine line masking tape on the bottom of the wing here, and on the wingtip I actually took measurements before I sanded it off, and measured how far at certain points, like for instance here's the position lights, and at the position lights the edge of the fiberglass wingtip to the edge of where the red started, I measured, and then the same at the trailing edge here. So that were my reference point. And then of course there's always good old eyeballing to make sure that really everything looks straight and basically dimensional. But I'm done with the fine line taping, and this takes a lot of time because again you have to take a lot of measurements, make sure everything is straight. I mean, this determines where your paint line is. So here's the top of the wing again. Here it's a little bit more tricky because it's a compound curve of the wingtip. But again, I measured, and of course the top and bottom, they have to match here where the red ends. And then again I measured where the position light is from the edge of where the plastic wingtip, the fiberglass wingtip is, to the edge of the red. Again, just looked at, looks okay, a little bit of a curve in it, but looks okay. And then down the leading edge, and I've gone at least 5 times very hard with my fingers over the fine line tape to make sure it's really tight against the wing. So hopefully I get no bleeding, bleed through of the paint, or probably just a little bit. But anyhow, so now I'm ready to just cover the rest of the wing that it's not supposed to get paint, and hopefully today I can still get the red paint on. And almost the whole day went by, but now everything is masked. So the leading edge is ready, and leading edge and the wingtip are ready to receive their paint. Of course, there's always concern painting, and in this case my concern usually is paper bleeding through. So I actually double papered right here along where I run the spray gun. So even if it bleeds through one paper, hopefully the next one will stop it. But I do use, I go to an auto painting store, automotive painting store, and buy their paper. But I'm always concerned about it bleeding through. And then of course tape lifting, especially around the corners. So even if the fine line tape doesn't lift, the next layer over, if that lifts, you get spray, overspray where you don't want it. So I keep checking, make sure everything is fine, and so far I can't see anything. So I'm gonna get ready to mix my paint and get going. So I will report back after the paint is on. So it was another whole day of masking and painting, but the Tennessee red is done on the wingtip. It's still curing. I just maybe finished about half an hour ago, maybe 45 minutes. So the edges actually look pretty good, I would say. There's a little bit bleed through here where there's a sharp edge from the wingtip underneath, and of course I have a bug in the paint. So bugs you just leave alone, and tomorrow when it's all cured you can just polish it out. And there's a couple right here where the pinked edges of the tapes are. I didn't press down hard enough or so. So I may at one point just mix up a little paint and with a little brush, just maybe touch it up. But the paint went down fine. I have not found any runs. Got a really good shine in it. Now I don't want to move the wing too much around as long as the wet paint, but also the bottom looks pretty good. Here's one spot where the paint actually where the tape lifted a little bit and a little bit underneath, but this is something I usually just, when it's after it's all cured, I just take a little polishing paper and polish it out. But tomorrow I'm gonna do a Bahama blue stripe, so this will be in 1/2 inch where only the white is showing. So this spot, this spot might be covered even by Bahama blue tomorrow and might be invisible. I think so, because only have a 1/2 inch white and then it's 1 inch of blue paint. So I might be lucky here. But so far so good. So tomorrow is another day. I will do a lot of masking, cut off some of this paper, move it back, cut it back, and then mask off the blue stripes. But I think it's turning out pretty good. So I'm in the middle of taping up the wing to paint my blue stripe. So there's going to be the red, then there's a 1/2 inch where the white is going to show. So I use 1/2 inch this fine line tape, so that will then exactly make my 1/2 inch white stripe. Then there's a 1 inch going to be blue. So I cut back my masking paper that I've used yesterday for the red. Then I put the 2 fine line tapes down, and then I put just regular masking tape down to keep the paper down again. But I leave a little bit of a gap in between, and I'm gonna put in, I'm right now putting another layer on here, because when after I'm done painting, I wait until the paint just gets a little bit tacky, and then I can just pull the fine line tape and this 1 layer of masking tape off and leave everything else on, so you don't have to mess with pulling any paper off. And then I just let it sit and dry overnight. So that's the method I use. Also, I showed yesterday, oh yeah, I'm really lucky. This one spot where we have a paint spot here is in the area that's going to be painted blue. So that's going to be invisible. So got lucky there. And then also what I maybe didn't do yesterday enough was when I really push down the fine line tape, everywhere there's a pinked edge. This time I really aggressively also rubbed sideways rather than just always just going long ways over the tape here. To put, I was concentrating so much on the edge here, but wherever there's a finishing tape underneath, then you really have to go also now I go sideways until I see actually the finish tape in the blue fine line tape. So hopefully that will give me a better result. We will see after I'm done. So I'm done painting my wing. I must say, I mean, I like to learn things, special painting, but I just don't do it often enough. So I don't think I'll ever be really good at it. But I'm still mostly happy. There's things I need to fix and touch up. But when we take a closer look, there's definitely looks nice. Definitely much better than before, of course. I got really good shine into it. I don't know how much the camera can actually pick it up, but the shine is great. So I definitely got a really good gloss. There's very minimal orange peel in it, so I think I'm getting the hang on to it. It's a matter for my equipment. I just had to open up the supply needle a little bit more and get a little bit heavier coating on it. But I really are not doing a good job is the masking of it. So it will take some work afterwards here, especially where the reinforcement tapes are underneath here. I tried so hard yesterday rubbing this and massaging it in, but maybe next time I have to take like a plastic spatula or something and work the edges even harder. So that will be a little bit of a touch-up work. So I think what I do is I use the same fine line tape and tape it now on this side here, then use just a little very fine brush and mix up some white paint and just try to touch this up a little bit. So again, if you stand back even 6 feet, it looks very good. Just don't get too close. But overall, I'm happy the way it looks, and I'm so glad that I'm done, because now I can get the wing back to the airport and start working on all the other stuff that still needs to be done. Here's the underside. Also very nice gloss. Can't complain about the gloss at all, but the same thing, there's some little spots here that I need to touch up. So, but overall, really good. I'm happy that I did it myself, because like I said, I like to learn things. So I still have to paint the landing light area. So after it's back in the, I put a little bit paint splash there, but there's going to be a metal strip over it. So this needs to be painted black, but I do that after I get it back to the airport. I just mask everything off and just with a rattle can, just some matte black paint on it. So overall happy. So I think this will conclude then part number, I think this is 7 already, and we start with the next one when I start start working on all the other stuff that still needs to be done. So until then, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.